You are watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the November 28th, 2022 meeting of the LaPorte County Council. You can find more information for this meeting by visiting www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Good evening. We're going to call the LaPorte County Council regular meeting for November 28, 2022 to order. If everybody please stand for the pledge, and afterwards we're going to take a moment of silence for Jamal Adjemi, who was served on the PETA Bowl board, who passed away. So, Mike.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Is it just me, or the mics seem very accurate tonight? Be careful. Roll call, Mr. Auditor.
Office. Councilman Novak.
Present.
Councilman Rosenbaum.
Present.
Councilman Mullenhour.
Present.
Councilman Yagelski.
Present.
Councilman Grammarosa.
Present.
Councilman Cunningham.
Present.
Councilman Gardner.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. Approval of the November 28th agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I have a few changes, a few additions, not changes. Under new business, under 1, we're adding a C. LaPorte County Park and Rec. The chief naturalist has sent in a resignation, and so therefore we're looking to fill the spot. And you gave him permission, so we're gonna authorize the hire, a replacement. Under number 9, we have it down below, something similar under appropriations. The Honorable Judge Rich Stallbrink, Superior Court number 2, is a request for approval of the Chief of Staff / Court Administrator to go from a Comet 5 to a Pat 5 as recommended by the Job Evaluation Committee. Then we're going to add a number 10. This comes from Human Resources. We're going to approve the LaPorte County Government 2023 health insurance premiums. Those are the changes that I have.
Thank you. Any other questions or additions? Is there a motion?
That's my motion with the changes.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Mullenhour. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next item is approval of the October 24th, 2022 meeting minutes.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Ms. Grammarosa. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Public comment. Public comment is now open. Almost said closed. Sorry.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Jackie Dermody, and I'm with Family Advocates in LaPorte. I am here tonight to just kind of plant a seed that I am going to be requesting to be on the agenda in January, requesting that we receive the balance of the money that the LaPorte County Council allocated us in August of 22 for 2023. Graciously, every year you support our cause and provide $90,000 towards our budget. $10,000 of that goes to our Community Youth Advocate Program, and $80,000 goes towards our CASA program, which matches a state grant. The state grant that we will be receiving in 2023 has been reduced by $54,000. They do a 2-year look back. So they look back at the numbers in 2021 of the CHINS petitions filed. That's only one of the criteria, but that's heavily weighted. And based on the fact that that was the COVID year, there were less petitions filed, less children's removed, and subsequently the trickle down is 2 years later, a significant reduction in our budget for next year. And while I'm going to ask for you guys to like grant me the rest of it, the 25,000 that we will be short, because we'll technically be short 54,000. We're going to make up the other half on fundraising and donor development and a couple new grant opportunities. But I just wanted to let you know that I will be asking that, and I'll provide everybody with the necessary documentation before that meeting.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Vaughn, make sure that's on a regular meeting in January. Thanks.
Mr. President, it would seem that that's a perfect use of the ARP money.
Correct, absolutely. Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Any other public comments? Public comment is now closed. Anybody on Zoom? Anybody on Zoom?
No hands up.
Department head.
Hello?
Oh, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
This is PM Rensberger at 1502 South 875 East. And I'm a 25-year county employee with 911. I am currently part-time at 911. I went part-time September 21st, 25th of 2021. And I'm emailed Tim Stabos along with Randy Novak about the pandemic pay. I spoke with my director, Barb Houston. She thought it was just for full-time employees. I worked full-time the whole year of 2020 during the pandemic. I was there every day that I was scheduled to be there. I went part-time, like I said, September 25th of 2021. Now I'm being denied the pandemic pay. I know there's employees that was hired in 2021 and 2022 that is getting the pandemic pay that did not work for LaPorte County in 2020.
They're paying people now just because they work for us. That's good for consideration.
I would like you guys to consider that I get my fair share of the pandemic pay that I deserve because I was there for the whole year.
Did you receive any bonuses while you were full-time?
No, I did not.
Making salad and that's good.
Mr. Yagowski.
We're going to we have to have another quick meeting coming up here anyways. Why don't we look into it and see if we can present the paperwork? We can't just go on to somebody says so. I suggest that we put this into our next meeting. Our next meeting would be probably the 12th or 13th or some date like that.
Right. So we'll look into this and see exactly what you are owed, if you're owed, and I'll personally get with the auditor about this. And is that okay?
Oh, okay, I could barely hear you, but okay.
Okay, we're having trouble hearing you also. Thank you. Any department heads? What's that, Darlene? Public comment is now closed. I closed it once before, but.
Good evening. Marika
evening.
Beatty, LaPorte County Community Corrections. A while ago, you all had granted us $200,000 for our total court services to pay for our GPS units. When I asked for that, I neglected to ask for $7,621.75 that we were in the red for that account. So I'm just asking that we're able to transfer that money from one account to the next so that we can zero that account out.
We can do that without advertisement, correct? Transfer?
Correct.
And then I have another account, the 9107, which is our grant account. We had a Stanley, our security system, a bill in the past that we had to pay. And so that made our account in the red. And so I just want to do the same thing as just transfer some money to make our accounts balance.
What's your pleasure? Mr. Yagowski.
You have the numbers. Can you give those to us officially tonight, what account you're transferring from?
He has.
I forgot to.
Mike's gonna read them out loud. He's got it for
I
you.
have copies if you'd like.
Please.
The first, The first is a transfer of $7,621.75 from account 4909.11009.000.0590 to account number 4909.300093. This is where the change is in the second set of digits. 0.000.0590. That's the first transfer. The second transfer is from account 9107.20060.000.0584 in the amount of $3,257.99, and they're going to be split into two different accounts, 9106.300135.000.0584 and $192.99, and then in account 9106.3013.000.0584 for $3,065 and no cents.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham,
Second.
second by Mrs. Grammerosa. Question, Mr. Yagowski.
When is the first time you'll be able to apply for your grant money back again? When's the first
For
date?
24, I think it starts in March.
Is it mid time?
They approve it in October, but we start the process in March.
March, okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Any other department heads?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Excuse me for my voice, kind of under the weather. Monique Thomas, interim HR director. I come before you guys this evening on behalf of the evaluation committee. I understand Judge Stallbrink, EMS, and Judge Alavizos will come before you for their departments. However, we did make some recommendations to the other county departments, the county highway. There was a recommendation that we look at a 20% increase on the highway department schedule. This is dependent upon the classification information that I believe that you were supposed to look at for the county highway.
On the salary study?
Yes. Did we
looked
get a
at
chance
it.
to get that done?
Well, we got the salary study and we discussed it, but
Okay. Okay. And also the health department,
before we get too much further, so 20% of what? So we gave a 10% raise right now.
but we were looking at the equipment operators on a different pay level, on a pay scale.
For that, it wasn't a percentage, it was to get them to about roughly $20 an hour.
Okay,
Right.
okay.
It wasn't a percentage.
And being that they're an LTC, 3, is that what they are?
Yes, they are currently LTC 3.
So is it possibility for the committee to review it and take them to a 4 at some point?
I mean, we could do that.
I mean, because we can't change the pay inside of a category.
But I think that we already asked, because the urban shade report, of course, not done yet. But we did ask because of the requirement of them having license for CDL, that straightened that issue up.
Right, so I discussed that with them, and they said, you really can't go ahead and do that unless you're gonna change, you can't. We were discussing about possibly adding another classification for those employees, and that really does not work. But if there are folks that are a 3, potentially we can look and bring them up to a 4 or a 5, and then based on the salary schedule that just came out, we might be able to meet the goals.
I mean, okay, but there's ways you could do it. That's one way you can do it. Or the council could say that we believe that they should get $20 an hour, just because the report doesn't say that they should. We can say that because the requirement they're doing it, they should be making 20, so that we can at least hire the people, because we're competing with the Indiana.
I would agree with that, but then I know that you're always concerned about precedent. If you're gonna go ahead and do that, then you're gonna have to really classify, you're gonna have to make it that you're giving them $20 an hour because of something different than the other people who are LTC classified throughout the county.
So you need to change the classification.
Because our maintenance guys are.
Because that would be, because that's always been the concern of the council, that if you affect one job, that you could be affecting a whole bunch of
Agreed.
others.
And again, we could go over that amount if we wanted to, because the council could do that, and with the point of the fact of that, but that really doesn't, Randy, because that's not the case that it necessarily changes it's just that because of the classification we have to separate them somehow and be.
The only thing is anybody else in the county that's an LTC 3, that's where the problem comes in. Because you have other people.
It could be, unless you have them go apply for their license too, if they want to go get a license.
That's our maintenance department, are their LTCs.
Right, but I guess the question would be,
Have an equipment operator schedule.
you're gonna have to do it across the board, but wouldn't that CDL license be able to put them up a level or 2 levels?
May take them from a 3 to a 4.
Or maybe to a 5, I don't know,
Whatever
to
we
a
do.
5.
So since we've got that meeting in December, we'll figure this out to get to that, number.
Okay. And also,
What did you have?
we had the health department, Amanda, okay, you have her information?
She sent it to
on
everybody.
Okay. So, I guess the only thing that, since those departments are bringing up their own, pretty much, just the approval of the commissioner secretary going from a .5 to a .6. That was proposed, I want to say about a few months ago. And I don't know where we are with that, but that was a recommendation from the committee as well.
That was never brought forward to us.
I'm not sure if the commissioners,
It was recommended that
it came to us? I remember
Yes.
hearing about it, but
We didn't see.
it was never voted on, but it came before you guys.
We didn't see any documentation on it.
I believe he brought it up at one meeting.
Rich did.
But,
Commissioner.
oh, right.
thought you guys said it was gonna be discussed at the budget hearings or something.
Well, a couple months ago, the budget hearings were over.
Well, you didn't discuss it that night. I know he brought it up and you guys did not vote on it.
It was a workshop budget hearing, I think.
What's that?
Do you want to put it in the next meeting?
So
Okay,
we'll figure that out too.
okay.
Um,
And also,
Wouldn't that be a new person in a month anyway?
We can discuss that. We can't say that.
All right. So
Not.
I got the highway, aside from the ones that are on the agenda, I got the highway, the health department, and the commissioners.
and then the network administrators. And we'll just discuss those at the workshop.
Yeah, and we've discussed the network administrators, and they have to have very clear definitions. They're not all the same. I've had this discussion with both of you. They're not exactly the same. Just because they have a title doesn't mean that they should get the same pay.
And you
So
have
I've
one-
asked them for that classification, and we haven't seen it. I'm sorry, you need it, please.
You have one with a master's in his field.
That's fine. I just asked that they be very clearly defined because I went to the people in my firm, and we have a lot of people who have masters, who don't have masters. It's all a matter of what their job says they need to do. And that's how they separate them by salary.
Okay. We'll talk about this more, but the other thing is there's gonna be a difference in pay anyway, because some been here longer.
I get that.
This is the base pay,
Yeah.
so to
Yes.
speak.
Well,
Network administrator.
basically, that position is unclassified, so there is no longevity accumulated with unclassified positions. I mean, that's what
What is?
unclassified is.
Okay. All right.
So,
And Mr.
the base
President,
pay is the best base pay.
Mr. President, I think there was one other sheriff's department garage, I think was discussed with the highway department, right? LTC there also.
They're LTC fives though. And that's the one that is gonna be very hard to get up and outside without creating an additional category. So that's the one I know that Guy and I have talked extensively about that, and we even talked with Wagner, Irwin, and Shealy about that, so. Anything else?
Other than those departments, like I said, Judge Stallbrink, Judge Alvizos, Amanda, and EMS, they'll be presenting their own recommendations, their department changes from our recommendations from the committee.
Right. Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Just, Mr. President,
Mr. Cunningham.
just for the record, Ms. Rosenbaum, do you work for a private firm or a governmental firm?
Very clearly, I work for a private firm, but if you're trying to raise the salaries of people from a public to private salaries, then they need to also get some sort of similar classifications, and that's what I'm trying to bring to change some of the standards, and I'm bringing those forward to you. It's obviously the option of the people here, but since they have been asked to be treated like they're in private industry and we are giving them bigger raises than ever before, then there are other things that come along with it.
Any other department heads? State your name, please.
Good evening, council people. Mike Schultz, LaPorte County Assessor. I'm here this evening asking permission to spend from my sales disclosure fund. As of today, we had 96,253 cents. I had Ting from the IT department come over and look at our computers. We're still running on Windows 10, and he says we don't have enough RAM on any of ours either. So I'm requesting new equipment along with 5 laptops. They're basically for Michigan Township. They didn't get laptops the last time we bought laptops. So the incoming assessor asked if I could get them some laptops. So the quote we have from Darlene, this is just a little bit lower because she changed one of the packages for the Microsoft Office Professional. We didn't need the 2 that she'd put down there. So these are 17 computers along with the 6 notebook laptops. And I'm asking permission to spend not to exceed $37,928.81.
Question.
Mr. Yagowski.
Mike, is everybody in Michigan Township going to be leaving the office? We have to have 5 of them? Laptops?
Well, they have 5 positions.
We don't do it to other departments, that's why I asked. If we give them desktops, if they need a desktop, I understand.
Well, because we go out in the field with our laptops.
I'm asking you a question one more time.
I don't run that office, Mark.
Well, then
all I'm saying is they wanted that.
Why? But a lot of people want stuff, and so again, if they're not all going to leave the office, they all don't need a laptop.
Well, if you'd like to micromanage Michigan Township and tell them how many can leave the office with a laptop, then please put that in writing.
All I do is answer my question. All 5 people are going to go out.
I'm going to say yes. All 5 people are going to go out. How's that? Because I don't run their office.
What are you doing here then?
I'm just saying I don't. If they need 5 laptops. It's coming from the sales disclosure fund. It's not coming from a tax-based fund. All I'm saying is to run efficiently, this is what he's asked for. And we've asked for it because you can't run a lot of our programs on Microsoft 10. And the RAM in them, he says, is too low. We need to up the RAM in all of them.
Part I understand.
Mike Rosenbaum asked me if any of these could be used in another department, like out at Juvenile Service Center or any other department. We're only taking one and putting it into the back office to update, because that's the oldest one, and the other ones can go to any department that chooses, if they need one, that doesn't need to have all the RAM or anything other than the Microsoft 10.
Go ahead.
Thank you for bringing that up, because that was going to be my question. Now I'm going to turn to you, Darlene Hale. Are you aware if these computers can be used elsewhere? And also, I was also curious how long you've had these computers.
Oh, and we've had them probably 6-7 years.
Probably 6 or 7.
Okay, thank you very much for that part. And as far as, I know 6 or 7 year old computers simply don't just mesh and drop and go with others.
We may be able to combine 2 or 3 of them and put them in other places.
Okay.
I was also going to get up because Mr. Rosenbaum had talked to juvenile probation about their equipment, and we did do a overlook of all of their equipment, and they have 2 PCs that are new. They're fine. They have 9 PCs that are from 2014. I've talked with Deb Ackerman. She does not recommend laptops. She recommends desktops. She said maybe.
So you're talking about juvenile services
Yes.
now? Okay.
So-
I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
No, well, not juvenile services.
Juvenile probation.
Right.
And this was just because Mr. Rosenbaum had spoke with them, and so they said maybe 1 laptop or 2 that could be checked out if they were out of the office. But there again, they're not like the assessors. They do all their work in the office.
They do have some home visits and other stuff, but the number of times that they do that is different.
So
And
if-
they can't sit there when doing a home visit and type in a laptop.
Right. So if they have one
we get
or
that and
something
understand
get
that.
checked out, then they're happy with it.
And we'll bring that up at another.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
they're not asking
Yep.
for that.
We were just looking to improve the key thing was to look to where could funding be found for these things and to improve the machinery and equipment, and then start getting on some routine, rotating basis where we're replenishing them and keeping them new and accurate, maybe 1/3 or 1/4 at a time.
Yeah, well, I have no plans to just pitch this stuff. It's gonna go to Darlene, and however she wants to distribute it is fine.
I just wanted to see how old it was to see if it was usable. I didn't ask that question before, so thank you.
And I mean, Randy and Mark, everybody's been here. We stretch computers as long as we possibly can. We always have, because it saves on the funding. So if we can reutilize them, we will. And, maybe we can reutilize a couple of them for juvenile probation, and they won't need all 9 computers at that time.
Great.
Thank
you. What's your pleasure?
What was the amount again?
37,928.81.
And that's to come from which fund?
The Sales Disclosure Fund, which has 96,253 cents in it right now. That comes from every sale in the county. The assessor's office gets $5 of it.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other department heads?
Ooh.
I think Schultze cut her off the first time. I think she'd have taken you out, Tony.
Good evening, Barb Houstini, 911.
Good evening.
In May of this year, we came before you for a proposal for new consoles, and it was tabled. Earlier this month, we received an email from the vendor stating that the console price will be going up at the first of the year by $48,000. That's considerable amount of money. Today, we did talk with the vendor, and they will honor the contract through January the 6th of next year. And what I'm asking for is a favorable or a support vote to be able to get our consoles at the price that we have them, that we have been quoted
First of the year.
at the first of the year.
So first, I'll make a motion to untable.
Thank you.
second.
I have a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Yagowski to remove that item from the table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. It's off the table.
I make a motion of support so they can place an order so that they can be paid for eventually in 2023 out of the new lit.
Thank you.
We have a motion of support,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Yagowski. Motion was by Mr. Rosenbaum. And any other questions or comments?
Yeah, I do. I know I apologize, I wanted to get in there last week or two and look at them. I don't know if any other council members have. Okay, and I'll ask you in a minute then what you feel about the condition. But I think what upset me was, and maybe a couple others, was when you went ahead and reconfigured everything over there, and then all of a sudden you did all that and spent money on that, and then come right back and ask for new tops and all that, which I think should have been just the other way around. But that was the reason I was against that. Can anybody want to make any comment? Because I didn't get a chance to look at them and.
I can. I actually looked at them numerous times, but the conditions have deteriorated. It was 18 years ago when we bought those brand new. And so there's a lot of wear and tear that everybody uses daily, 24 hours, 7 days a week. So it did need the repair work on it. Need to be updated on that part.
I concur.
Okay.
I'll also add that upon moving, you got to see some things that you couldn't see before because they were back to back. And when they were opened and exposed, where they're only one side, you can see how it had deteriorated. So yes, there's a strong need to do some replacement. And the problem with those are you just can't get them half this style, half that style. So.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Comment would be that we had the same situation when we thought we were going to transfer furniture to the new courthouse. When they went to move it, it was falling apart.
Yeah.
So, you know, you don't touch anything real hard, maybe pick it up, move it, things start falling apart. So I think that's part of the problem. The actual moving of them exposed a lot of what was the problem. You had to do it at that time, but now you realize.
Okay.
And what percentage, the 48,000 that we're gonna save by doing it now?
They
quickly?
said 6 to 10% would be
Good.
the increase.
Good.
The price, if I remember, was $440-something thousand overall.
490, I have it here.
Okay,
Mr.
so that I'm.
I think it's a 10% increase. It's 449,000, so it would be 490,000.
497,000, I believe, in change.
Yeah, I thought that was the new price.
That's for the consoles. The additional that we were going for is obviously for Dell Technology, Motorola, Kemp's, Marcus Electric, and Amazon. Made it exactly $605,693.21.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President?
The other thing that I wanted to bring up tonight, Monique talked about things brought before the evaluation committee. We usually stop those in June, but we've had several through August, September. We've had more than normal, and we're only going to do them, I think, through June if everybody's on board with that in the coming year. For evaluations, we have a position in our center. I thought I brought it before the commission or before the evaluation committee, but I evidently did not, for an assistant shift supervisor. We have shift supervisors, and we have 3 of them. 2 of them, one on afternoons and one on midnights are the shift supervisors, and we have one on days. We need an assistant shift supervisor on afternoons and midnights. It would be 2. We do have the position in our evaluation. The reason being there's so much overtime right now until we can get everybody up and running that the shift supervisors work 4 on and 2 off plus overtime. The assistant, they can't be there all the time on afternoons and midnights. So they would juggle the things. So we're asking for approval to do assistant shift supervisors, 2 positions in the center.
And what does it cost?
It would be $2,000. And we have it in the budget. We have it already budgeted.
$2,000 total.
For each
person.
Each. Correct, Matt? Each.
2,000 for, yeah. So it'd be it costs $4,000. It'd be 2 positions at 2,000.
We don't
It
need
wouldn't be a
one.
new position, it would just be a promotion.
Is this on an annual basis now we're talking?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're not talking to the end of the year. We're talking.
No, next year.
Starting first of the year.
And we brought
First
this
of the
up
year.
at, we'll bring it up
We can't do it now.
We could, well, you couldn't. Right. All right. Thank you. We're going to add that to the list.
Thank you. And thank you again
Thank
for
you.
this. Support.
Any other department? Barb.
Sorry, just real quick, could you get us some information on the employee that, the date, the times when she worked and everything, so we can tell?
Yes.
And email that to all the council and the auditor, the date that she went part-time, from full-time to part-time.
Certainly.
And what bonuses she might have received?
Yeah.
Certainly. I'll do that.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Yep. Say it, Tony.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the council. Tony Rodriguez, Director of Community and Economic Development. As your appointee to the U.S. Route 30 Coalition, I thought it'd be prudent to come before you with just a couple of days before this very first hosting of the Pell study, which is being hosted by the Indiana Department of Transportation. The Pell process, I thought it'd be important to just quickly define that. It's the Planning and Environmental Linkages Study, which is the very first step of a process that could expand and modernize US Route 30 and 31. What I've done is distributed a list of those meeting dates that are shown. If you spot this in front of you, I did distribute that right before the meeting, and I started to circulate that to you, council members, about 3 weeks to a month ago, when we first became aware of these meeting dates. The very first meeting that is a very important first meeting, and that is from 5 to 7 p.m. on November 30th at Oregon Davis School. And the address is shown there, which is 5990 North, 750 East in Hamlet, Indiana. Critical, we've talked about this process. It is one that is, of course, always a very lengthy, ongoing study process, but it's critical that I bring to your attention the fact that this is the first of several public meetings, and we wanted to make sure the public was well informed. We've been reaching out to Wanata, the co-appointee, Councilman-elect Kyle, that is also attending those meetings on a regular basis, is also doing a great job of keeping the community well informed of what's going on there. But if you can, make it a point to try to attend and spread the word where and whenever possible.
Thank you, Mr.
Yes, Councilman.
My only comment is just to remind people that this is the one that's closest to LaPorte County. After this, it starts hitting east all the way across the state. So this is an opportunity to get in there if you can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Great point.
Mr. Keel is in attendance this evening as well.
Yes, he is. Thank you. And we appreciate all of his support.
Thank you. Any other department heads?
We're just gonna start forming a line.
Yeah. Take numbers. We need a number vendor machines.
Next number, please. I just saw Amanda Laner's Health Department. I wanted to say thank you. First of all, today is our first day of construction on our new ceiling, and I apologize to the other departments for any noise. Sorry, not sorry, because we need it. So thank you. So I'm here tonight because I've been elected the non-official spokesperson for AEDs for the county buildings throughout the entire county. Right now we only have 7 AEDs throughout, and there's been a request from other departments and the courthouses to raise that number. You know, getting in everybody would be approximately 25 units throughout the county. So at the first of the year, I'd like to get put on the agenda, be asked to be put on the agenda so I can give you exactly how much that would cost and give you a better idea of whether options of purchasing units outright, renting the units, and any kind of service agreements to go with those.
Thank you. And the other thing that we talked about is getting one company to service all the AEDs instead of each department have different ones, and it would all be taken care of. Well, yeah.
Which one, huh?
He wants to make sure, you need to talk with EMS, make sure that they compatible.
Okay,
Just saying.
okay.
All right?
Can we also get a list of the locations that you're talking about too?
She's
as well?
got, this is something we've been working on for
I just
year.
adding it to what you're.
Yes. Yep, you're welcome.
And then the sheriff's department actually handles their own, so.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
with the jail. Thank you.
thank you.
Any other department heads? We're gonna hear from everybody tonight.
Good evening, Lynn Swanson, LaPorte County Coroner. I just wanted to update you a little bit on our numbers so far for the year. Last month when I was here, I had talked about upticks in numbers, and actually we're not seeing it yet. Last year at this time, we had 330 deaths registered. This year, so far, is 302. Overdoses are down by 8. We've had 45 this year so far. Suicides 21. Last year there were 31. Homicides 5. Last year were 9. Motor vehicle accidents 17. Last year was 15. So, we're crossing our fingers hoping that the numbers are going to stay lower during the holidays, which is normally when we see them going up. So we'll see what happens. I also have 2 new deputies in training right now. They've been training for about 30 days. We're going to put them on another 30 days. Then they'll go to school in February. I was going to start 2 more in December, but with the holidays, I think I'm just going to wait until January and then send them to the class as well in February. So at that point, we should have a total of 10 on our staff for our deputies, and we should be fine then.
Great.
Okay?
Yep.
Can we talk about my table discussion from last month for my non-reverting fund?
It's already on there, old business.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Any other department heads? Any other department heads? Department heads closed. Liaison reports. Mr. Cunningham.
Pass.
Mr. Yagowski.
Pass.
Mr. Rosenbaum. Terry?
He better.
Just basically, I did touch base with the recorder, the treasurer, the commissioners, and the auditor, plus stopped in the commissioner's office as a outgoing councilman, just stopped in to see them. Other than that, that's it.
Thank you.
Pass.
Mr. Grammarosa? Pass.
Just had a couple things. Attended 2 job classification committee meetings, which has been talked about a little bit tonight in October and 25th and November 3rd. And attended the LaPorte County Government GSI Quarterly Commissioners Insurance Meeting, which that'll be talked about in a little bit also. And the only other thing I had was I just wanted to give a shout out to the maintenance director, Larry Lewandowski, and his staff for the beautiful display again here at the county courthouse. That is, I've had more people comment on that lately than, I know it's been there for a couple of years now, but it's just great to see and appreciate what he did again this year. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna pass also correspondence, no correspondence. Ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance 2022-01 amended. Ordinance adopting LaPorte County, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policy.
Mr. President, the only thing that we did was we there was a E911 was changed on September 26th, so this is just in compliance with their $5,000 pay increase. So if it's your pleasure, I would ask somebody
Motion to read by title only.
to suspend the rule first, please.
Oh, motion to suspend the rule.
Thank you.
We have a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum to suspend the
Second.
rules. We have both readings tonight. Second by Mr. Yagowski. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Now,
Motion to read by title only.
we have a motion by title only by Mr. Rosenbaum.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's your time to shine.
Ordinance 2022-01 is amended. An ordinance adopting County of LaPorte, Indiana salary schedule and compensation policies.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Yagowski to approve. And just so everybody out there is listening, this is a change that we made in the 911 center for this year. So this is amending 2022 ordinance. It's more of a,
It's a formality to
Correct.
comply when you change the rate.
all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next item is Resolution 2022-11, a resolution approving policy for waiver, negotiation, and settlement of certain delinquent tax penalties.
Mr. President, you may recall, we had a problem with our May tax bills this year. Some folks were given the bills and they paid the wrong amount, and there might have been a few dollars that was less that they paid than was actually owed when the bills were sent out corrected. And so penalties were added onto those accounts. And this resolution is just given the authority to the auditor and the treasurer to abate those penalties that were added because the people made the payments timely, they just paid the wrong amount.
Just a question.
Mr. Yagowski.
So I was involved with this way too much long ago. That's the auditor's problem, because what happened is that you shouldn't need resolution, it should just been resolved. People didn't pay for 4.5 years, almost 5 years, and nobody got reassessed for the fine. I mean, if you want to just make it look good, it's fine, but the auditors were known not to charge anybody, because that was how there was the error of the auditor's office.
It's my understanding that it's a software, that it's just, if people come in and they present, just that they have the ability.
The computer charge.
Yes, that they have the ability to wipe away that delinquency. And it's only for the May payment. You know, people who are delinquent are delinquent for other payments.
Motion approved.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski. Second by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or
Can we
comments?
just, do we read it by, can we read it by title, just so it's in the record?
We want that.
You want to read it by title, Vaughn, please?
Motion to read by title only.
Motion by, is that good with you, Mr. Cunningham, too?
Yes.
All right. By title only, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Vaughn.
Fort County Council Resolution Number 2022-11, a resolution approving policy for waiver, negotiation, or settlement for certain delinquent property tax penalties.
And there's also the policy that goes along with that, which is the same as May policy, if you can just read that by title also. It's all one, it's together, so.
Fort County policy regarding waiver, negotiation, or settlement of certain delinquent property tax penalties.
Great. Mr. Yagowski, you want to make your motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to as read. Mr. Cunningham.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or comments?
I know it's just, mine. I know it's just a language thing, but I don't like the idea that says penalties, because there was no penalty. It was an error on the auditor's office. That's not a penalty.
Right, but the penalty was not, it's a computer software thing, it's just.
Right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Moving on to new business. Consider approval of the council president's authorization to hire replacement positions for the LaPorte County Assessor, Real Estate / Personal Property Deputy.
Motion to approve.
A motion by Mr. Rosenbaum.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gardner. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? LaPorte County Health Department, permission to hire a public health clerk in Michigan City, a vacancy from a retirement.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Mullenhour. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next one is the Park Department for
Chief
a
Nat-
vacancy with
Chief Naturalist.
Chief Naturalist, a vacancy that's coming up. He'd like to hire somebody after the first of the year, so.
Motion to approve.
Have a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Mullenhour. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next, Honorable Judge Tom Alavisos, Circuit Court requesting a reclassification of the Chief of Staff / paralegal position currently in the budget for LaPorte County Circuit Court to be raised from a Pat 5 to a Pat 6.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Ms. Grammarosa.
Second.
Second by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any other questions or comments?
Comment that this particular person is actually supervising staff in two different courts.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Cunningham. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next, Honorable Judge Greta Friedman, Superior Court Number 4, requested a motion of support for additional appropriation of $3,752.61 for bailiff account. And this did not make it in the advertisement, so we'll actually advertise the appropriation at our next meeting in December, but it's a
Motion of support.
motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, seconded by Mr. Mullenhour and Mr. Cunningham. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Magistrate, did you want to talk?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. There was also a request to transfer money from the extra hire part-time seasonal account to that bailiff account. I didn't see that it was on the agenda, but I just wanted to seek approval for that transfer as well.
How much is it being transferred?
$2,790.06.
Can we first get somebody to amend the agenda, add it to the agenda, and then?
Correct. Okay.
Excuse me, is it a 100 to 100?
Is it
Same fund?
You staying in the same 100 account?
Yes.
It doesn't need to be approved by you, it just comes to our office.
So it doesn't, Vaughn says you can just come to his office and
We can make a motion.
they can approve it. We'll give you a motion of support. How much is the dollar amount again?
$2,790.06.
That's your motion.
And I'll make the motion of support,
Second.
so it can be done.
Have a motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Yagowski of support for this transfer. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
LaPorte County Sheriff, permission to spend $15,000 from Mr. Meanit account for annual subscription to Office 365 internet usage.
Motion to approve.
Does he want to come up and talk? Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. You only got so many meetings left, Sheriff. Talk now or, oh, you're good with that. Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Since the sheriff may not be at our next meeting in December, I'd like to congratulate and commend him on the last 8 years of service. Set an outstanding example. Appreciate it.
Be coming back next week.
Yeah.
I'll repeat it next week if you come back.
Yeah, definitely. LaPorte County Adult Probation, permission to spend $15,450.91 from probation user fee account to purchase computers for Superior Court Number 1. Mr. Irick is not able to attend tonight, but
Motion to approve.
Second.
motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Yagowski. Question?
I do have a comment. This is the one department that has made a big habit of cycling their computers through and using their own funds to pay for it. So I want to commend him for that. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. LaPorte County EMS requesting approval of, for the office manager / executive secretary position to be raised from a Comet to a Comet 6 per job evaluation committee.
Can we just get a clarification that she's a Comet 5 now? Thank you.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Mullenhour,
Second.
second by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next one, LaPorte County Human Resources discussed the following topics: Berkeley stop loss renewal, Berkeley contingent quote, UMR admin renewal, and renewal summary.
Question,
Yes.
is this the same discussion that was at the commissioners, or is this something different?
Same. Same? Same.
Is this the one that, the commissioners, tabled?
I don't know if they tabled it.
I thought they approved it for,
Yeah, they approved
Yeah.
health insurance. I think it's for workers' compensation.
Is that what it is? Okay, good, thank you.
That's being looked at.
so we're gonna talk about the one that was approved.
Option number,
Okay.
option number 2? Thank you.
All right.
Do we need a vote?
What?
Do we need a vote?
We don't need a vote. Are you guys gonna talk about it?
You can talk.
Yeah, sure. Craig Menny, President General Insurance Services. Good to see you all. Yeah, I was here just to answer any questions there may be. The plan, as many of you may recall, is partially self-funded. So the county is essentially the primary insurance company. You pay most of the claims yourself. We do purchase excess coverage called stop loss. Presently, that's been with a stop loss company called Berkeley. And it's a shared captive arrangement, so you're pooled with Porter County, City of LaPorte, City of Michigan City, and that drives some returns over time. The plan right now is running roughly a $1.2 million surplus. The renewal is obviously forward-looking, and so the initial renewal came in just over 16%. We did receive multiple stop loss quotes, and we were able to negotiate that down to 7.8% on an expected basis. And so the recommendation through that process was to continue with the current vendor lineup, principally UMR as the administrator, and then Berkeley as the stop loss carrier for the county and the employees.
Motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Mullenhour,
Second.
second by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question. If we have a surplus, why are we not passing that surplus on to the employee versus keeping a surplus and passing that 7.9% increase on to our employees?
Yeah, so that's really an employer matter. So in terms of what the costs are, the surplus, what the projections are, then yeah, what an employer charges their employees is really an HR matter. So I think is the health insurance premium a separate agenda item?
Yeah.
So yeah, no, it's a fair question.
But it's just not your question.
Right.
It'd be, we'll discuss that when we talk about premiums.
Right.
Right. Mr.
I just have a question on this. With a surplus, don't we get the benefit of the calculations of having funds already on hand to keep the premiums down?
So, in total, yes, if you're looking over multiple plan years. So obviously the current plan you're running, the $1.2 million surplus, is based on present experience. Forward looking is what the actuary is saying. That's where the 7.8% is coming in.
But they take into consideration the 1.2 million that we currently have. They do not?
No, they do not.
That's
Again, it's an internal financial accounting.
okay. That's a different story. I thought they would have taken that into consideration and not produce a higher premium for us.
So all they're doing is they're projecting what the claims will likely be in the coming year. There are a good number of folks with some serious conditions. If those present as large claims, then it would be appropriate to be budgeted for that 7.8% amount. Again, how you might apply this.
But if also we take a look and we see that we're limited an exposure per person, and that's why we have the secondary insurance.
Right.
So we're limited to, if I read this correctly,
Absolutely.
about $250,000 a person.
Right. Correct.
Mr. Manny, how does our 1.2 surplus compare to the other LaPorte City, Michigan City, whatever other units we're in this pool with?
You're running better than most, candidly. So it varies from year to year. Last year was a very difficult year from a claims perspective. If memory serves, it's about an $800,000, excess cost. So the 1.2 million this year should be looked at in total. But yeah, most are running either at or better than expected.
And would the clinic have something to do with that? The use of the clinic?
Yeah, certainly over time. And the strategy really is two-part. One where we can engage folks in primary care, keep them healthy, manage conditions. That would certainly be the goal. This particular strategy then has some very attractive pricing points. So the more folks that use it, the more that the county saves, and the member for that matter, because there's no out of pocket.
And that would actually increase our surplus.
It would.
So at what point, I mean, us as a council, do we look at passing some of our savings back to the employees?
I think that's a commission call.
It's a commission call?
I believe that's next, yep, that's a
Very
commission call.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Next item, LaPorte County Planning Commission requesting to transfer $1,500 from mileage to attorneys to cover the cost of the attorney fees. I did receive an email from, I believe several people may have. He said he thinks the shortfall is only this year and he doesn't anticipate it being next year. Needing that. So.
Motion to approve is a transfer.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham.
Second.
Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
While we're on that subject, since Mr. Pullen was the one that presented that, I want to thank Mr. Pullen in association with Mr. Schultz and Mr. Galloway for finally getting a correction made to an address that's been an existing problem for a couple of years. On a corner lot, nobody could find it. And Mr. Schultz took the lead and got this thing solved. I want to thank him.
Thank you. Next item is Superior 2 requesting to move his person from a Comet 5 to a Pat 5.
Motion to approve.
Motion approved, sorry.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski,
Second.
second by Mr. Mullenhour. Any other questions or comments?
Comment is that the committee actually recommended it to go to 6, and he thought it was too high at this point in time. So instead of coming in and asking for additional money, ask it be moved to a Pat 5. Appreciate it.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, and I just wanted to take a minute to thank Mr. Garner for 20 years of service. It'll probably be the last meeting I'll see you at. You've known me and I've known you my whole life, so thank you, appreciate your service. So.
Ju-
You're only 29 years old?
Yeah. Yeah, couple times, so.
You're not coming to our next meeting? I'm just kidding.
If I do,
I know.
by Zoom.
Thank you, Judge. Next item, number 10, is was the insurance rate, approval of the premiums. Okay. What's your preference?
Does anybody want to approve the rates?
Oh, yeah, okay. That's what that's for, okay. I understand what it's for now. Mr. President, I can motion to approve the rates for 2023.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Rosenbaum. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Mr. President, before we move on to old business, Mr. Irick sent in an email.
I have it here.
Please,
So if you're okay, Mr. Cunningham, I'd like to make an amendment to our agenda to add a number 11. It is a permission to spend from the probation, Superior Court probation fund, not to exceed $6,000 from the user fees for cameras, security cameras that are needed in the Michigan City courthouse.
you also want, okay.
Is that good?
Is there something I missed?
You wanted to mention the drug court next week, a week from tonight.
You got that?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Flyer as well.
Monday night. So I amended and I forgot, hold on, who seconded it? Mr. Mullenhour, you seconded the agenda, so would you go with the?
Yes.
Thank you.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So in item number 11, permission to spend $6,000 to user fee for additional cameras needed at the Michigan City Courthouse.
It's transfer funds, right?
To transfer, it's permission to spend.
Permission to spend from his user fees.
Yeah.
I have a question. How come those security cameras weren't purchased when the building was redone?
That's a good question. I think these are additional that they determined they needed.
Right. So originally there was a large number of cameras. Vern came back, they went with a smaller amount of cameras. These are specifically in the probation hallways. I know they have them down here in probation, and I know that they have caught people, dropping drugs on the way into seeing their probation officer and, just different things. So these were additional. So they weren't in the, because I believe with the courthouse, they just did the secure areas, the main hallways, stuff like that.
So it wasn't planned properly when they first designed the
I
courthouse?
believe he was told to do it after.
With his money. But it's his money. It wasn't part of the original plan.
It should have been. I mean, if you've got one courthouse over here and you've got a department here and you've wired it one way, and we have the same department in Michigan City, why are we not doing it the same exact way over there? I mean, what makes that department different from this department over here? Why was it an add-on afterwards?
If I may answer, I think it's all because of funding. And I think the idea of not doing it originally was just so it gets funded by the probation user fees. So it didn't come out of the overall general funds that came from the bond.
So we could say that it was under budget. So we could say that the courthouse was completed under budget. But now
I'm
we're
not
coming
saying
back.
that. No, I'm not trying to say that.
$6,000 isn't gonna make it or break it.
It's just a matter of where the money's coming from for $6,000.
But this wasn't, the committee never denied these cameras. These cameras never came up for a vote or a decision prior. So it was always decided that that's what they were gonna do, I guess, or that they needed them after the fact.
Mr. President, I think, if I remember right, taking a tour, within the first week of the courthouse opening, someone kicked a hole in a wall in an area that had no camera. And they realized, well, we gotta stop it. I mean, somebody just been busted for drug use or something, they walk out and they just kick a hole, we don't have a camera in that hallway. Pretty much the same in our homes. We probably don't get it all right the first time we.
Right.
I believe that incident actually was caught on camera, and they were able to pull the bit.
And I believe they,
Different hallway then, okay.
I believe he
made an
paid
arrest as a
for it.
result of that.
Good.
Yeah, it got restitution too, so.
I know that probation did pay for these cameras down here in his hallways in LaPorte.
We tried to repurpose as many cameras as we could, but it was unanticipated. Looking at the blueprints, it's difficult to tell until you're actually in that building itself as to where cameras were needed. And there were some blind spots in some areas that were unanticipated, and there was also some hallways that we didn't know would have the foot traffic that it would have until after the building was occupied, because some of those hallways were opened up or some were closed. So as a result of the building being open and realizing what our needs were after the building was then open, that's when we learned that there were some additional cameras that would be needed.
And there's a lot more cameras in the new courthouse than there were in the old one.
Oh, yeah.
Because there wasn't that many before, so.
Thank you.
Did we have a motion and a second?
Yes, we did. Waiting for a vote.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Mr. Novak, I don't know the time on the drug court on Monday. Is it 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock?
It's,
They just sent a flyer.
hang on a second, I'll tell you, it's on my,
I don't have it here, it's at home.
5 o'clock.
That's what it says.
5 o'clock in this room. So they have a graduation. It's December 5th? Is that?
December 5th, a week from tonight.
Yeah. If you haven't attended, it's truly humbling, so.
And Vern Honky is the guest speaker that evening.
Yep, newly retired.
He'll give his retirement speech.
Yeah, exactly. Old Business, Human Resources, requesting to change administrative assistant position to full-time and reclassify HR assistant position to a comment 5 to unclassified. Good evening.
Good evening again. I received permission from the commissioners to present to you guys permission to change, to approach you to get the approval to change my HR admin assistant from part-time to full-time, and to reclassify the HR assistant position to from a comment 5 to unclassified.
I'm gonna ask one question to start this conversation. Does that mean that if you don't get the interim removed from your name, that you don't have a job?
No, that's not what that's saying. Basically, it's just at the HR assistant position, it's just basically going to like unclassified. So with other departments that have an assistant director, sort of like along that lines, that's what it'll be, just going to an unclassified position.
But then there'd be 3 full-time employees in there?
Yes.
Once we hire a permanent HR director, there'll be 3 full-time
Yes.
employees in there. I think just speaking from what I've heard, the council has a bigger problem with that third person being full-time and not part-time. I understand right now, since it's just you and a part-time person, that you need a full-time person in there with you until this all gets resolved. And that's why we talked about, I don't have a problem improving it on a temporary basis until we get something worked out. But not hiring another full-time person in there permanently. Does that make sense?
No.
Made that motion already last time.
Right.
President, I could make that motion that, I could make that motion that if they need somebody temporary, which we already told them to do, then they could bring somebody in to fill that, but it's only going until we replace the position. Then it goes from 2 full-time to 1 part-time, like it has been in the past.
It's not enough.
Well, I know, we've already brought this up in front of the council.
I know.
That's my motion.
Second.
So you're saying that we still operate how we've been operating?
No, go hire somebody temporary.
We've looked into temporary staffing companies for people. That's going to cost us more money that I don't have in my budget to even.
We'll take care of that part.
Have you attempted to recruit retired county employees?
No, I haven't.
I think that's a great pool of people that might want to come back and work 6 months or work.
And you'll have the money in your budget, which we already approved, if you want to bring somebody part-time or until temporary, full-time. We've already approved that already so that's the no, it's not even a question of that, just come to us and ask us for our money. That's my motion.
Well, the problem I have is space also. Because technically I'm not the HR director, so I'm still in my spot as the.
I would make a motion that we encourage you to move into the HR director spot. You are the interim HR director. We don't think it's presumptuous of you to move into that spot, even though you're interim. You may be interim for a year. We don't know.
No idea.
If space is an issue, it's because you haven't moved into the big office, correct?
Correct, because I'm not the director.
And I think the council as a whole would agree, we encourage you to do that.
We encourage it. I'll make that part of my motion. We encourage you to go in there.
My second stands.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, second by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or comments?
I have one.
Who's that?
Kent.
That's Miss Jan. That is my assistant,
Yeah, we
the
can't.
assistant
Okay.
HR.
Not taking questions.
You can't. There's not a question answering.
Is it relevant?
She's an
to what?
employee. She works in my department. So I think it's every right for her to.
We have a motion. We don't.
During the public
Right,
comment.
we have a motion. Now we got to vote on this thing. That's what. It doesn't matter. We have a motion and we're
It's
supposed
not
to
a
vote on
public
it.
comment. It's not a public comment. She is an employee of LaPorte County.
That's not
She
the way
works-
we-
Speaking in public comment, or did she speak in department heads?
She's speaking under a HR. She's speaking under the
We got a
HR.
motion. We don't let people come back with questions. I got a motion on the floor. There's a second. I ask for a vote.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
So what's this vote for? Is it just to?
This motion was to, explain it again.
Okay, you can fill the position like we said before. If it's more money for that temporary, full-time, come back to the council, that's fine.
Okay.
The position stays. After that, 2 full-time and 1 part-time. That has not changed. It also says with that, you can move into the office.
Okay.
No,
Next item is the coroner's permission to spend from non-reverting fund. This was tabled in October.
Motion to untable.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum to remove from the table. Second by Mr. Mullenhour. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. What's the dollar amount now? Lynn?
Okay, the dollar amount is going, I believe, in the letter I sent out to everyone in the email. It was $17.37. I just got a new price on the embroidery on the shirts, so it's going to be not to exceed $1,800
Out of your funds.
out of my funds. Yes.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham, second by Mr. Yagowski. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Can I just ask a question? In the future, if I want to spend money out of my non-reverting fund, what is the proper procedure to do it?
Right here.
Come here.
Come here.
Ask permission to spend.
Your fund, because I think we looked into your fund and your fund requires council approval.
Right, it's a permission to spend.
Okay.
It doesn't, not appropriation, it's just a permission.
Doesn't need to be advertised, it's just a formality.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to appropriations and transfers, the Honorable Judge Richard Stahlbring Jr., Superior Court Number 2, requests an additional appropriation. This is for the reclassification that we did, not to exceed $9,500.
Motion to approve.
Out of general?
What?
Out of general fund?
Yeah, that'd be fine.
Is that a motion?
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Mullenhour out of general fund,
Second.
Cunningham.
seconded by Mr. Cunningham. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. LaPorte County Auditors request an additional appropriation for bond administrative fees in the amount of $500.
Motion to approve out of general.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum,
I'll second it. I have a question.
second by Mr. Yagowski, and on the question.
Okay, in the past, wish that general insurance salesman was, or insurance salesman was still here, but in the past, this came under a coverage plan. This is an individual bond just for you, and we don't have it for other bonds we have for other departments?
Yeah, this came up out of surprise for us for that Mission City courthouse bond. All of a sudden, they said you have a administrative.
This isn't an individual bonding. This is a bond for the courthouse.
Yes, sir.
It's a fee for the bond that we have on the courthouse.
Yes, sir.
How come this isn't incorporated in?
Yeah, we just found out about it. When we had to pay it, we just found out about it. It's $500.
It wasn't in the budget.
It was not never incorporated into how much it was owed for the bond. It's just all of a sudden,
Okay, so
administrative.
how long does the bond go? How many more bills do they get to pay, charges $500?
It's once a year. They started this once a year.
Because we have because we are bonded, our bonding agent requires us to pay that $500, is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, it's somewhere in the contract.
Right.
Any other questions or comments?
Addition there, Vaughn, in the future, that would have alleviated some doubt. Where it says bond administrative fees, that just sounds like it's general administration, whereas it should have said for the Michigan City Courthouse.
Courthouse bonding.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next item is LaPorte County Sheriff requests an additional appropriation from CCD for
What's coming back up here?
What?
He was coming back up here.
Yeah, he was. Equipment for vehicles that we approved in the amount of $75,000.
It's my understanding that this is just a cleanup measure. I talked to Vaughn this morning when we learned we were on the agenda. He perhaps can describe it better than we can. We didn't ask to be on the agenda. This was a result of an issue from the last meeting.
Yes, sir. The council approved it to come out of the lit. It needed to come out of CCD, so therefore we had to resubmit it for advertisement, just like we did with the highway department stuff.
Great.
Thanks for catching that.
Thank you.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham,
Second.
second by Mr. Grammerosa. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Next item, LaPorte County Sheriff requests an additional appropriation for gasoline not to exceed $40,000.
Motion to approve out of general.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Grammerosa. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. I don't want,
Can I just say something real quick?
Sure.
All right. I just want to thank you all for your support over the years. You've been a great body to work with. Really enjoyed it. About 88 meetings, regular meetings. I don't know how many workshops, 8 budget hearings. You probably were fed the best lunches you've ever had during the 8 years. And great coffee and donuts, compliments of the jail. But I want to thank you for your support, not just for me, but the sheriff's office over those 8 years. You all, especially this past year, have really supported us at a time that we needed the support. It was unprecedented, and it didn't go unnoticed. And again, I want to thank you. And I've had a great time with all of you in this body. And I wish you the best of the luck in the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service.
I don't want the sheriff-elect to get any ideas that it's gonna be that easy next year. Yeah.
But lunch could get better.
Yeah. So, no.
We didn't have barbecue this year.
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
Next item is LaPorte County Council requests an additional appropriation from ARP for the volunteer fire departments. This would be paid out after the first of the year, but this allows the auditor's office to do that. It's the $10,000 per volunteer department. There's 16 volunteer departments in LaPorte County, so a total of $160,000.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum.
Nope, Mr. Mullenhour.
Molenauer.
That's okay.
Question on,
I had it right there.
question.
We need a second before we.
I'd like to
But point of order is what I was saying.
Go ahead.
Before you do that, so he says request additional appropriation. We can't appropriate this year, so it would have to be not just a request to appropriate.
It would have
It would
to
have-
be a support.
Support. It has to be support.
Well, we approve it now.
It has to be support because for next year. It's just,
We already gave them the $160,000 this year, right?
So this would go out first of the year, but there's a huge delay from January to the time bills get paid. So that's why the auditor's office said, hey, if we can get this approved now, they can pay it first of the year. The check would go out first of the year. It's approved now.
Yeah, but then you're superseding what the council wants to do next year. So I think you're better off going with a motion for support and bringing it back in January.
That's fine.
I think everybody's on board and it's clear the volunteer fire departments have been here. And so I think it's just cleaner that way.
just clarity is all.
Yeah.
Right.
Motion to support.
Motion to support. There's,
I would like to second it, but I also want to say for the sake of transparency, I think that, and I think this is happening right now with some of the departments, they provide their financial reports to their towns and their townships. So just for the sake of transparency, I would like to propose that each department provide a annual financial report to this body as well.
Would you like to see what they do with the money?
Yes.
Yeah, that they can just explain what they've done with the 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
right. And that was part of the request and in the letter, but you're not asking for the financial report on everything else they're doing.
Well, I mean.
You
we
want to
should-
know what
yeah,
this
just
money's
the-
being spent on.
Right.
Right. I mean, just to make it simpler. Okay. No, absolutely.
Is this money going to the trustees or the individual department?
Individual, because we had, some were trustee, some had contracts with the trustees, some didn't, and for parity across the 16, they're going to the departments.
Okay.
Correct.
But a lot of these do fill out their financials, right? They do have like a financial report.
Yes.
So, I mean, would it be that much of a deal for them to provide that for?
We approve some of the township budgets. If there's a volunteer fireman that serves on a township budget, the council has to approve their budget as a formality. So there was only.
Well, Brad Adamski represents.
How many did we do?
Two or three.
Two or three.
Two
out of 16.
Yeah.
So we'll get a statement on what they're spending it on and everything else. We'll get all that. A breakdown.
Mr. President, since you have a great working relationship with the Fire Chiefs Association, if you look at the form they each of their volunteer fire department, their chiefs signed, they check off equipment, training, recruitment. They all checked all three boxes pretty much. So I think basically when they come back next year, they should have a summary of what they did spend it on. They can just attach that. That would be the easiest way for them.
Definitely.
What this extra 10,000 was able to help them do.
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Next item is LaPorte County Commissioners request an additional appropriation from Riverboat ARP or General Fund liability claims. We'll do these separately. Liability claims in the amount of $1,010,000.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Rosenbaum.
I'd like to first explain, and then I'm gonna do something. I'd like to explain that we do not have enough funds in either the general or the riverboat or a combination of both. Do not want to take this out of ARP funding because that's for a different purpose. I'd like to hold this over until the next meeting, so that we take it out of the reserve fund, because it's the only thing that is that is the only thing that we should be, I don't like pulling it from the reserve fund, but we should not be pulling it from ARP funds.
You can have to find an emergency by a supermajority of a vote to pull it out of the emergency reserve
Okay,
fund.
so then is there another suggestion how this could get paid?
Well, I guess Mr. Novak and I were discussing earlier, what is this $1 million? Is it liability claims, or is it money for
legal
insurance
liability
premiums?
claims that they have already paid and have a negative balance in their account?
Because we discussed earlier that we used to get this information when they were paying claims.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that I recently paid a $25,000 claim on a jail case, but that's the only thing that I'm aware of.
You didn't pay, you settled it.
Yeah, I said, right.
You
but
didn't pay it. If you
no.
paid it,
Y'all
take
paid it, but
$25,000.
So, does somebody have, Mark, do you have an explanation as to the $1 million?
What? Yes, I do. No, not any money, President. Because I'm gonna have to keep it very limited, because this conversation needs to be brought up at our next meeting. We should meet with the commissioners in a private meeting. There are people that are being paid that should have been off a long time ago. I shall leave it at that. And so we've allowed these funds to increase every year. This is the highest I've ever seen it. So I believe that what we need to do is to hold it over to our next meeting and ask if we can meet a half an hour ahead of time to do exec session to discuss, there's personal employees that we have to discuss.
So is that a motion to
Yes, sir.
table the liability claims?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'll second. Doesn't matter who does.
Motion by Mr. Yagowski, seconded by Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Rosenbaum to table. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Next item is professional consulting services in the amount of $50,000.
Motion to table.
Motion by Mr. Cunningham to
Second.
table, seconded by Mr. Yagowski. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Professional service accounts in the amount of
Motion to table.
$75,000. Mr. Cunningham, motion to table,
Second.
seconded by Ms. Grammerosa. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you. Well,
Mr. President, I'd like to see if we can get our meeting scheduled so we can do both at the same time, at the present time if we can.
so the dates that we're looking for this next brief meeting that we're looking to have would be between the 12th and the 15th of December.
Needs to be the 14th or 15th for me. I'm out of town.
The 14th.
I prefer it to be the 5th. Yeah, it doesn't matter, either one of those.
So it's a Wednesday or Thursday. We got that on Thursday. So the 14th, is
I'm gonna
that,
be out of town, but I mean, I guess I can zoom in.
is that okay then?
I'm gonna be out of town.
But can you Zoom or no?
Yeah, I may not have a choice, but I mean, I'll have to be on the executive or the half-hour executive as well.
Correct.
Can we set that up, Darlene? To where that can be in a Zoom also? Well, it would be,
We're looking
Say from 5 to 5:30 and 5:30 to 6.
yeah.
Would that be okay? So it's the
We
14th.
gotta get those notices.
Should we,
Or do you
should we,
wanna- or-
should we
Are
pick
you
two?
gonna be out? just that one day or like?
Should we pick 2 dates just so the commissioners have a little number here? Can we like 14th and or 15th? And then whatever we get, right, Randy, whenever
We can do the 14th or the 15th.
is that okay with everybody?
Why don't we,
5 o'clock on the 15th.
why don't we set what we all can make, because they only need one commissioner here to explain in that executive session. They don't have to all three be here. Is that correct? I mean, they're not gonna vote. They're just gonna explain their
That's what I'm
position.
trying to find out.
Thank you.
We just move.
We're gonna have to vote, but they're not gonna vote. They're gonna give us information.
So yeah, the 15th will work best for me.
So let's do the 15th, but we're gonna do it at 5:30, starting at 5:30.
For 5 and then 5:30, 5:30 and 7.
5:30 because I have a previous meeting
Okay,
that
so do I.
5:30 would be the exact, and the exact should only be 15 minutes, shouldn't it?
Well,
Should be.
there would be some explanation. We need to refer to the commissioners, but okay, I'll just say right now, yes. Vaughn, you have to watch out because last year you overextended our schedule. This is not bringing.
No, this, we've talked.
Okay, I'm just saying, I'm gonna remind, because I just, we can't allow it to happen again. So what happened last year, so we gotta stick with the agenda that we have.
Right. Does everybody agree with that?
I don't care.
And we'll start our meeting at 5:45?
If it's a little late, then if we have to talk a few more questions, that's fine.
Right.
And
Work for
so,
everybody? Good. All right.
Do I need to schedule another meeting for December in case anybody needs any more additional funds? Are we done?
You don't.
That's what we're trying to stop you from
That's what,
doing.
you don't need to send that out. That's just for the book, the tying up the loose ends that we currently have.
so when are you all gonna review those salaries that you discussed?
That'll be at that meeting,
At the
5:45.
Okay, so how are we gonna get a salary ordinance prepared if we don't have the salaries resolved? I think you need to have a workshop regarding that. I hate to do this to y'all. Because really, the salary ordinance needs to be entered before the
Right.
31st of December.
Can't be the 7th or the 8th.
I'm just, hate to be the bearer of bad news.
But you seem to be good at it.
Yeah, I'm good.
So what do we see the downsides of what we're doing? Okay, we're talking about the highway department, that if that's gonna, one way or another, we're gonna make a decision, we're not gonna, if we're gonna talk about the position you have, we can talk about, was a third, there was 3 of them that were up there.
Right, but the ordinance is gonna have to be prepared before the meeting.
Understand, that's what I'm asking, what's holding us up right now from doing it? This may be going on until next year, if the way it is, because,
Some of it should go on to next year, because based on the salary study, I don't know that we're gonna be able to
Well,
resolve some of those issues.
everything isn't gonna be resolved by our next meeting.
Right, it's just,
I think we're in
that's why I'm bringing
agreement.
this up, that's why I'm bringing it up.
So we're pushing the salary stuff off until the next.
So is your suggestion that he prepares the salary ordinance as it is right now today?
not me, Vaughn.
That's what I was.
Don't look at me.
And then if we need to amend it, just like we did with the 911 at some point, then we amend it.
Yeah, we can amend, and anybody except elected officials, yeah.
This is my
So that would eliminate us from having to have a workshop, and we can still talk about things.
Right, but okay.
Yeah.
Because you're not gonna have the same council people here next year.
I know.
Oh, correct. But
Okay, but anyway, that's my suggestion.
so we don't need a workshop.
Okay.
Well, we need
So-
to,
so
the exec
just-
sessions on.
So just so it's clear,
Right.
highway department's gonna just stay with the 10% until we can deal with that issue next.
Why don't we do that with everybody?
Unless we make an amendment that night.
Right.
That's all we gotta do.
Right. Unless we amend it that night. I still think the highway department truck drivers, operators, to me, that's more of an easier fix than the sheriff's department's mechanics that
They're
are
already-
maxed out in their classification. There's room to move those. So, that the truck drivers, operators, sorry, to me, that's an easy fix. We need to sit down and look at it and see where we hit that number at. And then the mechanics that in the sheriff's department, that's a bigger nut to crack because
That follows through with the first of the year, we were supposed to talk about with the study.
We gotta look through the whole study, and the intention is, and when talking with, Mr. Cunningham and Mr. Yagowski, part of the reason of giving the 10% raise is because with the salary study there, it gives a little bit of time to shake out, but it gives everybody a good raise, and then we can finalize some of these things that we're still working on, so. Doesn't mean that we're not gonna work on them, it just means that,
And we have the ability in 23 to make, if let's say we don't get anything until February, we figure this out, we can make that retroactive to January 1st. I mean, it's not like we're just stalling so they don't get paid.
yep. Excuse me, ma'am, would you like to go to the?
Did you want the reevaluation committee to look at the highway, like you said, to see if you could raise them?
This was supposed to be 2 months ago. I have no idea what's going on up to the reevaluation committee. We talked about this 2 months ago about the raises
I
because
don't get it.
I'm throwing this back. You asked. So 2 months ago, we asked about this, and we're trying to hire people in for this position. We are below the salary right now of hiring them people in. So I don't know what this study is going to do any better. It was 2 months ago when it was first brought up.
I'm not referring to any study. I'm saying you guys spoke about having them reevaluated from a LTC 3 to an LTC
It
5.
was 2 months ago I asked for that.
Okay.
Or it could be a
I can
four.
remind
It could be a 4. It could be a 4. We need to know what the dollar amount is. We're trying to hit the $20 an hour mark is what we're trying to hit.
Okay.
So, all right, and we'll talk more. Call me tomorrow and we'll.
So if that's all we're gonna do, and I think you're agreeing, but we can always make a small amendment, but the ordinance will be as.
Decide on the 14th then.
We can do that. Yep.
15th, Thursday, right? Thursday the 15th.
At 5:30.
5:30 is the first meeting.
Okay. That's the exec session.
Correct. And then the other thing is an organizational meeting. I'd like to talk to everybody and get that scheduled for January 9th at 6 PM. That would be, it's the first Monday, first full week of January. The other one is the 2nd, and it's right after the new year, so it just seems like you're cramming a lot in there.
What time?
6 PM, or unless you want to do something different. It's a normal time, so.
January
The
9th.
organizational meeting would be January 9th, and we'd have to make sure this room is available. Does that work for those of us that are gonna be here?
Somebody's in the audience right now. It's January 9th.
We got a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yep. All right?
I have my own reorganization.
I know you.
You stand.
What time is that gonna be?
6.
We're not gonna tell you nothing. It's gonna be secret stuff too.
Okay, sounds good.
Anything else? So,
Remember, you're gonna have to work with me.
yeah. I would also like, since we've got another meeting, but commend Terry on his, was it, how many years? 40? Oh,
Township government.
yeah.
God bless.
It's great. So, are you gonna be at our next meeting, or are you gonna be on?
I probably would soon.
I figured you would, so. So, we'll talk more between now and then and everything, but congratulations to you. Congratulations to, the people that won in the election, and we got some people moving on, some people coming on. So, look forward to working with everybody first of the year, so.
Nice working with all you guys, but you haven't gotten rid of me for good yet.
So when you say all you guys, literally,
Yeah, literally guys, right?
guys, yeah, so.
We're looking for good things.
Yep. Any other business?
Mr. President,
Mr.
yes, you asked me to work on a hiring resolution, and I do have that completed, and I'll circle that around
Okay,
for folks.
sounds great.
Yep.
Thank you. Anything else?
I believe Mr. Garner needs a standing ovation.
It's been a pleasure representing LaPorte County in different aspects, and I couldn't ask for a better group of councilmen. It's like over the years, everybody, whether they were Republican or Democrat, have been very cordial and courteous to me throughout the years. So, thank you.
You did a great job. Thank you, Terry.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion, is there a second? Motion by Mr. Rosenbaum, second by Mr. Cunningham. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.